Moment that I was holding my firstborn. She was just a few weeks old, and watching Sandy Hook, thinking like, what is this world? What is she going to grow up? And I feel like since then, it's kind of just been one shit show after another. You are responding normally to abnormal conditions, and healing doesn't begin with. All right. Before we begin, let's take a breath. So wherever you are right now, if you're driving, if you're folding laundry, walking, sitting, if you're listening to this, if you're watching me on YouTube, take a moment to just notice your body. Notice that you're here, that you're alive, that you're breathing. Notice what you're feeling. Check in with your body, this beautiful vehicle that drives us through our human experience. And notice if you can soften your jaw, your shoulders, maybe loosen up in the back of the neck. Just simply notice where you're holding on and where you can soften, right? This could even be like somewhere super random, like in the toes. Just get a sense of how you're doing. How are you feeling physically? Where do you have aches and pains? How are you feeling mentally and emotionally? How is your breath? And then taking a nice big deep inhale, filling up your lungs, pushing your belly out, bringing that breath all the way up through the collarbone. Pause at the top and notice where you can soften and let go. And then slowly, like you're blowing out candles, release. Good. Welcome to today's episode. It is episode 23, which blows my mind. And today we're going to be talking about collective trauma. So this is something that I have been personally experiencing, something that I'm hearing a lot of my clients are coming in and they are showing signs, expressing like anxiousness when there's nothing really to be anxious about. And so it inspired me to create this podcast episode to be helpful. And it's on, collective trauma, responsibility, and then how we return to humanity, because we can get really stuck in the trauma loop. And then we'll think of like doom scrolling and how hard it is to like pull yourself out of that. Even if we don't like really have the language for what we're feeling. Some of us can label like, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling anxious. Other people, even if you don't have the label for it, they're just words. It's this sense of being on edge. It's that anxiety that feels bigger than your own life. The exhaustion that like doesn't go away even after you've gotten sleep, or maybe you're not sleeping. It's also the way that conversations feel sharper, more polarized, more fragile. It's the way your nervous system feels like it's constantly scanning for danger. It's constantly looking around. And again, I'm hearing this from my clients, and I myself am witnessing it with my own eyes. I mean, we've now seen 2 murders take place. And what's unfortunate is, I was saying to somebody yesterday, I saw the most recent video of Alex Preddy once, and it rattled me. There's multiple versions of it. I have only seen one time, and it completely set me off for the rest of the day. I had to turn off my phone. I had to like really get into my body. It really threw me off. And I was talking to my client who had seen multiple angles of the murder and had seen it multiple times. And I can only imagine like what that's doing to us when, like, think about it. We are energy bankers. We are made up of energy. And it's like just putting all this toxins in your body. And I'm not saying don't look at it, because we have to look at it in order to witness it and make a change in it. But knowing a limit is really important. So people are on edge. And I always like find it's so fascinating how palpable the energy can be in general. But I'm thinking specifically about a class that I taught on Sunday. And that was from a girl, Lucy. She's running the Boston Marathon this year. And all of the proceeds are going to cancer research at Dana Farber. So I think on Sunday we raised over $300. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to donate to that. Great cause. So, anyways, I walked into the room, and it's so funny how life comes full circle, because it was in a space that I had taught my first yoga classes at before I was so new yoga, before I had an LLC, when I was just fresh out of teacher training. And so we taught there. The space was bigger than what my intimate little studio is. And so when you first walk into the room, right, when people are first getting settled in, the energy shift that happens is very palpable at some point. And it's usually by like our second or third kind of collective breath together. You feel it. You feel everything just get a little bit lighter, a little bit softer. And what's beautiful is that, like, I mean, just like collective trauma, collective healing, everyone in that room shifted at the same time. And it was beautiful. So whether we realize it or not, we're carrying issues in our tissues. We're carrying trauma in our bodies. If I can go back to the beginning of it all, for me, it was the moment that I was holding my firstborn. She was just a few weeks old, and watching Sandy Hook on TV. And just, I remember thinking, what is this world? What is she going to grow up? And I feel like since then, it's kind of just been one shit show after another. But part of what we need to do, we can't escape the chaos that's happening in the world around us today, no matter when it started for you, right? Like, we're living in it. We're living in the now. There's the divide, there's lies, there's the gaslighting, tension, there's anger. I just finished reading a really good book called On Tyranny by Timothy Snyder. It was super helpful, and I highly recommend it for anyone that's looking something to kind of anchor onto during these turbulent times. And for so many of us, we are truly safe. We might not feel it, right? Some of us are very lucky and very blessed, and we're not a threat to whatever is happening out in the world, not yet, anyways. And so we're not actually suffering, right? This is where it's very easy, what I'm finding for this type of stuff that we're seeing out in the world, to become normal, because we are going to our day-to-day job. Our kids are going to school. We're, going to the PTA meetings, all of these things. But so that's why we can't have this sense of normalcy around it. But for so many of us, we're not actually suffering. Our day-to-days have not changed much. We could very easily look away or stick our head in the sand. I don't recommend doing that. Not at all right now. If you have a voice, please be using it. So even for us lucky ones, or us blessed ones, us privileged ones, even though our day-to-day lives haven't changed, we still feel exhausted or on edge or stressed out. And if you've been asking yourself, why do I feel this way when nothing is technically wrong in my own life, then this episode is for you. You're not broken, you're not weak, and you're not imagining this. We're not living in normal times. Okay, so what is collective trauma? Collective trauma happens when entire communities, cultures, or generations experience prolonged fear, loss, or instability, and there's no real closure. So we can think of like COVID, right? We can all think of COVID and every moment after that, right? It's been a busy few years. This year hasn't really started off any more chill. Unlike a single traumatic event, collective trauma is ongoing. It's layered, it stacks. So it comes from it's not just like a one, event or a one-off thing. It's this constant cycle, like a constant crisis cycle. It's political unrest, it's moral fractures, it's economic instability. It's pandemic grief, it's climate fear, social division, generational trauma passed down unconsciously. And here's the key part: even if you are personally safe, your nervous system is still absorbing all of that energy field around you. So even if you are personally still yourself safe, your nervous system is still a little shocked. I pulled a card today on the collective energy and how everybody was feeling. And I got the moon, which, shocker, The moon card represents our fears, like, and those fears that are deep into the subconscious. And I think right now it's really important that we all get back into a sense of feeling safe in uncertain times. I think that's something that will help as we navigate through whatever it is we need to be navigating through. Trauma, I want to be really clear on this. Trauma isn't just what happens to us either. There's a really good book called The Trauma of Everyday Living. So, yes, you might have had a wonderful childhood and you've got great parents and all of this stuff, but you still are a participant in the world, and there's still a lot of trauma that's happening right now. And maybe for the first time ever, you're paying attention to it or you're feeling it, right? So, trauma is not what happens to us. It's what happens inside of our body when we don't have the time or space or support to process what we're living through. I think about dogs, right? Like when a dog has an interaction, like it shakes it off. We're not really doing that. We're just kind of like walking around and holding our shoulders up to the bottom of our ears, like right weight of the world, just resting right here. And so many people, we are in the age of technology, intellect. So many people are trying to like think their way out of a nervous system experience, and that's just never going to work, right? It's like trying to read a book in German if you don't know German. So when I'm at work, I feel this in my clients. I just had a new client the other day who had not received any massage work in quite a few years. He was recently retired, right? Enjoying himself, enjoying his time. But when he got on my table, what I noticed was just by me placing my hands, like his body had no idea where it was. Like just by me placing my hands on him, the muscles underneath started to soften and relax just by bringing awareness to them. And after he had commented how he felt like he had such a deep tissue massage, and I was like, that was just you letting go. So we need those gentle reminders back because we can get into like that tunnel vision. If you've ever been on a doom scroll loop, you know how easy it is to get kind of sucked in and to lose time and space. I invite you to check in with how often you are unnecessarily holding in your body, right? Like, look at me right now. Why am I doing this? I can just let that go. It's usually in the jaw or the shoulders. If you're driving, right, it's gripped. That's a time for me to like notice like, oh, I don't need my shoulders up there. But get into the habit of getting your body like into a shape, like say a seated shape, a butterfly pose or a chest opener, right? Like it doesn't really matter. And simply breathe. And with each exhale, notice where you can let go, where you can soften, right? You're going to be amazed at the muscles that are holding tension when they actually like aren't even involved in the muscle group that you're stretching. It's unbelievable. And this is because of a beautiful connective tissue called fascia. So what happens in your right shoulder is absolutely going to have an effect somewhere in your left hip. So everything is connected. And when that fascia is really tight and everything's holding on and coiled up, right, there's not a lot of room for us to feel safe in our bodies because everything's so tense. I don't think I really need to get too much into this, but we all know why everyone is feeling on edge right now, right? There's too much information. There's too much outrage, maybe not really enough, too much fear, too little grounding, too little embodiment, and too little humanity. It's so easy for us to get lost in an us versus them. And we have to remember that we are all humans and that we all play a role and that we are all connected one way or another. There's always going to be that butterfly effect. And our bodies were not designed to process trauma globally 24/7 through a glowing rectangle in our hands, right? Before radio was even invented, people were getting the news just through paper. So think about how much time was happening. I just had a conversation about with another parent about bringing back like the house phone and the newspaper, right? Like slowing down access to everything. But it's a delicate process because though it sounds nice to do that, there is this sense of we want to be engaged and we want to be alert and we want to be vigilant. And so it's a delicate balancing act. I know for me, when I saw the video, and I just instantly felt everything lock up in my body. I had to shut my phone off. I cooked. Like that is such grounding for my energy. I did some somatic movement, like a lot of like shaking and moving. And it's important that we have those tools in order for us to navigate through these times, because we don't know when there's uncertainty. We don't know when these times are going to smooth out. And on top of like getting the news, I just do have to like interject here a little bit and talk about like the news in general and encourage people to follow reliable sources and not state run media like Fox or influencers like that. I personally love Midas Touch podcast. It's a great team of on the ground journalists and that do on the ground reporting like in real time, which is super cool. Make sure that you are, when you are paying attention, make sure to what you are paying attention to. Okay, so back to collective trauma. So when people ask, why is everyone so reactive? Why are people so angry? Why is everybody on edge? Why do I feel like I can't catch my breath anymore? This is why. Your body is saying, too much, all done, tapping out. And instead of listening, we're taught to override it. So we stay productive, we stay informed, we stay engaged, we stay outraged, right? There's that delicate balance. Like, yes, you want to be taking necessary steps, but you need to have a private life. You need to like take care of your body. You need to be the best version of you in order to do this work. And healing doesn't happen when we're productive, when we're, searching for the next story or getting updated on a story, or when we're just simply engaged. Healing happens when we come back to the body, when we come back to stillness, when we find our breath, when we've lost the ability to move trauma out of our bodies. Think about how often, again, your dog shakes off that energy. When you encounter similar situations, like just get in the habit of like, moving it out, right? Move it through your body. You can tap at your heart space. This is a really beautiful one. Go to the gym, soak in a tub, like try a bunch of different things, because what works one day is probably not going to work the next day. And there's a phrase that I like to live by. And what we see on the outside is a reflection of what's happening on the inside. So that doesn't mean that we ignore injustice or we bypass reality or we do the spiritual bypassing, which drives me nuts in the spiritual community, focusing just on the positive, not happening right now. It means that we understand that our own inner state shapes how we meet the world. So when you're out and you're seeing just so much violence and destruction and right, this is like a time that like I need to get within. I need to ground myself. I need to change the lens. Just like if you're taking a filter, right? Like I need to change the filter on this camera because I don't like how it looks. And then once you've filled your cup, once you've taken care of you, once you've settled into your body and let your body know that it's safe, then you can go and, get to that protest or bring meals to your neighbor or whatever, however it is that you want to show up in the world. And I had this really difficult conversation and I want to share it because I truly believe that energy is drawn to me because of what I put out. And I experience a lot of kindness. I receive a lot of help. I meet supportive people. Opportunities open, not because I'm special, but because I tend to my internal landscape. When I'm regulated, when I'm grounded, and when I'm acting from integrity, I notice that the world responds differently. When I get real human and get real nasty and get real bitchy, also I notice that outside of me too. So it's this balancing act that we have to notice, like, what are we putting out? What are we taking in? And here's the loving truth. That doesn't mean that bad things never happen. Of course they do. I'm human. But it means that I have the capacity to handle those things when they do, to shift, to pivot, to do whatever it is that I need to do. And there's nothing special about me. That's something that every single person has the ability to do. Because at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own happiness, not our partners, not our friends, not the news, not the country, not the president, not nobody, right? It's your own responsibility. If you're not happy, you have to take responsibility and change that and figure out the ways that you need to. And I'm not saying this in a harsh way. It's not like a pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but it's in a deeply compassionate, empowered way. No government, no partner, no system, no gym, no spiritual teacher is going to regulate your nervous system for you. You have to do that for you. This work is intimate, it's personal, and it's embodied. I mean, I've stated, like, when I allow my anger and my frustration, I spiral. I'm human, right? And that's the other thing. When you notice that you've done it, you don't have to beat yourself up. You can be like, oh, silly meat suit. So hard being in a meat suit, right? When I observed myself spiraling and getting aggressive and I kind of reflected back, I had skipped a few days of my meditation. I hadn't been doing my morning self Reiki. And so I was not coming into the days as the best version of myself, right? And then I end up saying things that I can't take back. And nobody is going to be able to do that turnaround, that shift, except for me. So I had to offer myself forgiveness for misusing my own energy. I had to sit in meditation and think about, right? I was like in a spiritual timeout and sending out like love and again, forgiving myself for stooping to a level, right? And then sending love and understanding to the recipients on the other side of that. Um, After, of course, I saw compassionately that the root of my actions was fear, right? I'm terrified of the times, but I'm also courageous. And I had to calibrate my own energy. And that was my responsibility. That's not anybody else's. And this is where Reiki and self healing practices matter so deeply. Whether you are Reiki trained and certified or not, and if you're interested, I've got some wonderful workshops coming up. The next one, I have one in March, but it's fall, but I have one April 11th and 12th where we're going to do full days Reiki 1 training. But it's a beautiful tool, and it's something that we all have access to. And so if you can give yourself, if you're certified, trained, great. If not, who cares, right? Just place your hands on your body. And Reiki and self-healing practices, it's not about fixing anything. It's not about fixing you, but it's about reminding your body what safety feels like. When you place your hands on your own body, when you slow your breath, when you allow energy to move without force, you're telling your nervous system, I'm here, I'm listening, and you're safe. You're safe enough right now. Healing doesn't require dramatic breakthroughs. It requires consistency, presence, and gentleness. So just by skipping a couple of days of my Reiki and my meditation, I was a bear. And what you're doing is you're telling your nervous system, again, that it's allowed to be safe. And then healing doesn't require these dramatic breakthroughs. This is where embodiment matters. Trauma lives in the body. Healing must happen there too, not just through thinking, not just through talking, but through sensation, breath, touch, and stillness. There's a teaching often associated with Buddhism, but really rooted across many ancient traditions that says selfless service is one of the highest paths to happiness. And here's why this matters right now, because trauma collapses us inward. Fear makes us self-protect. Isolation feeds despair, but service reconnects us, right? Taking care of our community, taking care of our neighbors, doing things for other people every single day without any expectations in return, just doing them to be helpful. And I promise this is the key to happiness. This is when, we reach that highest level of joy and contentment and enlightenment. Because when we help another person, it, again, not just to be seen and not to be praised, but just simply because it helps the other person, it shifts something inside of us, right? We put a message out to the universe that when we do actions like that, because service reminds us that we're connected, that we matter, that we have agency, and that we're part of something larger than ourselves. And happiness isn't going to come from numbing. It doesn't come from winning arguments, especially keyboard warrior arguments. And it doesn't come from being right. It comes from meaning. And also, the most greatest sign of intelligence is being able to take new information and to change your perspective, to when you gather new information, to make shifts, to tap into our morals and our ethics, and to see, what is the best way? What is the best authentic, loving way that I can move forward in this situation? And it's really easy when we frame it in that way. From contribution, from compassion, from showing up as a human being in the world that desperately needs humanity. So this is a time, we got to cycle through a lot of things at once, but at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to be humane, to show humanity to our neighbors and to the people that we know and that we don't know. At the end of every yoga class, we set an intention, we cultivate love and light and peace from our heart space, and we allow it to travel out to every being, whether we agree with them or not. And I give bonus points, not really, But it is bonus points if you can send that love and healing to someone you're really struggling with. All right. So what we need to do is get back to our roots. We need to return to what is ancient and true: communities, ritual, touch, nature, slowing down, presence, and care. We need to get back into our bodies, back into our hearts, back into humanity. And this doesn't mean abandoning modern life. It means remembering who we are underneath it. You don't need to heal the whole world. It's not your responsibility. You just need to tend to your own little corner of it: your nervous system, your energy, your choices, your compassion. And that is how collective healing actually happens. There's enough collective trauma. Let's add in some collective healing now. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or disconnected, I want you to hear this clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. You are responding normally to abnormal conditions. And healing doesn't begin with fixing yourself. It begins with listening to yourself. Come back into your body, care for your energy, serve where you can, choose kindness, especially towards yourself. Because when we heal within, the world really does change. And if you're feeling called to go deeper through Reiki, self-healing, or simply learning how to regulate your energy in these times, I'm here to walk that path with you too. So human. So just reach out, send me an email, send me a message. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for caring. And thank you for choosing to stay soft in a world that often rewards hardness. And until next time, that's what she said.